How can the historical narrative differ in portraying the leadership and actions of Queen Ranavalona I of Madagascar? In the past, Madagascar was a kingdom rich in abundant natural resources and had a monarchical system of government based on the royal family's lineage. Madagascar became the target of European countries engaged in colonial expansion. European nations, particularly France and England, saw the economic and strategic potential of the resource-rich island of Madagascar, including spices, rubber, wood, and other rare plants. Additionally, its strategic location in the Indian Ocean made Madagascar an important hub for maritime trade. In the 18th century, France began its colonization efforts in Madagascar. In 1750, they established trading posts on the east coast of Madagascar and formed alliances with local kingdoms. However, their colonial endeavors did not succeed in dominating the entire island. In 1810, King Radama I ascended the throne following the death of his father, King Andrianampoinimerina. King Radama I was a visionary ruler of Madagascar who sought to modernize his country. During King Radama I's reign, relations with European countries, especially France and England, became more intense. King Radama I adopted progressive policies and attempted to modernize Madagascar by adopting Western ideas and technology. He allowed the arrival of Christian missionaries and established diplomatic relations with European nations. However, despite the strengthening ties with European countries, Madagascar did not become a direct colony of any European power at that time. There were trade agreements and political relationships with several European nations, but Madagascar maintained its autonomy and sovereignty as an independent kingdom. Unfortunately, King Radama I's reign was short-lived. He passed away in 1828 at a relatively young age of 35. After his death, his wife, Queen Ranavalona I, ascended to the throne and ruled with policies and actions that were deemed cruel. Queen Ranavalona I, born in 1788 with the original name Ramavo, was a powerful and influential ruler in 19th-century Madagascar. She came from a noble family and had a kinship connection to the previous royal family. While King Radama I was known as a visionary and progressive ruler, endeavoring to modernize Madagascar by adopting Western ideas and technology, and allowing the arrival of Christian missionaries to Madagascar while supporting the introduction of modern education in his country, his wife, Queen Ranavalona I, took contrasting measures. She implemented a strong isolationist and anti-colonialism policy. Ranavalona I possessed a strong character and a firm desire to protect the independence and integrity of the Kingdom of Madagascar from foreign interference. She saw colonialism as a threat to Madagascar's sovereignty and culture. Additionally, observing the experiences of other African countries that had fallen under the rule of European colonial powers, such as in West Africa and South Africa, served as a warning to Ranavalona I about the threats facing Madagascar. She aimed to prevent Madagascar from suffering a similar fate and maintain its independence. Although Queen Ranavalona I had a strong intention to protect Madagascar's sovereignty and independence, she implemented harsh policies towards Europeans. She employed cruel methods that included persecution of Christian missionaries, campaigns against followers of traditional religions, brutal executions, strict surveillance, exile, forced labor, and massacres of the Merina tribe. Ranavalona I persecuted Christian missionaries by prohibiting the practice of Christianity in Madagascar, ordering their expulsion, and even killing those who refused to comply with her orders. These actions involved torture, torment, or execution of the missionaries. Additionally, she launched brutal campaigns against followers of traditional Madagascan religions, banning the practice of traditional religions, destroying places of worship, and forcing people to accept Christianity. Ranavalona I rejected Christian missionaries because she saw them as a threat to the sovereignty and culture of Madagascar. She believed that the arrival of Christian missionaries could result in foreign influences that would undermine the traditions and traditional values of Madagascar. However, despite rejecting Christian missionaries, Ranavalona I implemented a policy of forced conversion to Christianity. Her goal was to create religious homogeneity in Madagascar by encouraging people to accept Christianity and abandon their traditional religions. She hoped that by promoting Christianity, she could strengthen her power and consolidate political ties among her supporters. The forced conversion policy was carried out through various repressive actions, including torture, threats of death penalty, and the destruction of traditional places of worship. Ranavalona I wanted to ensure that Christianity became the dominant religion in Madagascar, and those who refused to convert were considered obstacles to achieving this goal. In this context, Ranavalona I's policy demonstrates a complex paradox. Despite rejecting European Christian missionaries, she used her power to force the people of Madagascar to accept Christianity and abandon their traditional religions. These actions reflect the political ambition and desire of Ranavalona I to consolidate her power, even if it meant violating the principles of religious freedom and sacrificing individual freedom in practicing their beliefs. Ranavalona I is also known for her cruel use of the death penalty. One form of capital punishment used was hanging, where prisoners were hung on gallows as a lethal punishment. Additionally, the use of whipping was often employed as a painful physical punishment. There were even more sadistic practices, such as placing people alive in holes filled with sharp thorns, resulting in slow suffering and death. In addition to the death penalty, Ranavalona I implemented a strict surveillance system throughout her kingdom. She had a network of spies working for her, reporting on the activities of every individual to the government. This created an atmosphere of fear and constant surveillance, where anyone deemed suspicious or a threat to her power could be arrested, tortured, or even executed. The purpose of using cruel forms of the death penalty and a strict surveillance system was to maintain the absolute power of the Queen and suppress any form of opposition or resistance to her government. These actions reflect the authoritarian and repressive nature of Ranavalona I's regime, where individual freedom and human rights were disregarded in order to maintain government stability and the supremacy of the Queen's power. Ranavalona I also implemented policies of exile and forced labor against those she deemed as threats to her power. These prisoners were forced to work under harsh conditions and experienced inhumane treatment. Additionally, she was involved in the massacre of the Merina tribe that opposed her government. The Merina tribe was the majority tribe in Madagascar, and some factions within the tribe showed resistance to the Queen's policies and power. In an effort to suppress the Merina tribe's rebellion, Ranavalona I carried out repressive actions that resulted in thousands of deaths during the massacres. The Queen used military force and royal troops to confront the rebellion and suppress the Merina tribe that opposed her. The massacres were carried out with the aim of maintaining power and government stability. Ranavalona I used military force and cruelty as a means to suppress opposition and ensure loyalty to her government. These policies demonstrate that although Ranavalona I had the intention of protecting the sovereignty and independence of Madagascar, she implemented cruel and violent actions that violated human rights in her efforts to fight colonialism and maintain her power. The leadership of Ranavalona I reflects the complexity of a leader who, on one hand, fought to protect the sovereignty and independence of her country, but on the other hand, used violence and repression to achieve her goals. However, it is important to remember that the judgment of Ranavalona I is highly dependent on perspectives and historical context. For some people in Madagascar, she is considered a hero who defended their sovereignty and culture. However, for those who became victims of her cruel policies, she is seen as a feared and ruthless figure.